Nudge: Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness by Richard H. Thaler and Cass R. Sunstein. Picture yourself walking into a men's restroom at Amsterdam's airport. Strange way to start a conversation, I know, but stay with me. There, inside each urinal, you'd spot something odd, a tiny, realistic image of a housefly etched into the porcelain. Your first thought? Maybe it's a joke. Some quirky European bathroom art. But here's the twist. That little fly is pure brilliance. An economist named Ad Kiboom discovered something fascinating. Give a man a target, and he'll aim for it. That innocent-looking fly reduced spillage by a jaw-dropping 80%. No angry signs, no warnings, no fines. Just one tiny, silent suggestion built into the environment. A gentle nudge. That fly unlocked a profound secret about how we humans actually behave. A secret so powerful it earned one of this book's authors, Richard H. Thaler, a Nobel Prize. Along with legal scholar Cass R. Sunstein, they wrote a book that's quietly reshaping our world. It's called Nudge. Since hitting shelves, this book has sold millions of copies and landed on the desks of presidents, prime ministers, and CEOs worldwide. Its ideas have helped millions save more for retirement, increased organ donations, fought poverty, and even helped people eat healthier. The kicker? Nobody was forced to do any of it. This isn't your typical psychology book. It's a blueprint for understanding the invisible forces that shape every choice you make. By the time we're done here, you won't just understand why your New Year's resolutions fizzle out, or why you never bother changing your phone's default settings. You'll possess the secret knowledge of the choice architect. You'll see the invisible currents guiding your decisions every single day, and you'll know how to design a life where your best intentions actually win. You'll discover that the most powerful way to change the world, and your own life, isn't through force. It's through a well-placed, thoughtful nudge. Let's kick things off with a simple question. Look at these two tables. One on the left, one on the right. Which one looks longer and narrower? If you're like pretty much everyone on planet Earth, you'd say the left table looks like a sleek runway, while the right one resembles a square coffee table. It seems obvious, right? But here's where it gets wild. If you grabbed a ruler and measured them, you'd discover something shocking. The tabletops are identical. Same exact dimensions. Go ahead, look it up if you don't believe me. It's a famous illusion. No matter how many times you see it, your brain absolutely insists the left one is longer. In this case, seeing definitely isn't believing. This little visual trick introduces us to the star of our story today. And that star is you. It's me. It's what the authors call a human. For centuries, especially in economics, the people designing policies and systems believed they were dealing with a completely different creature. They called this imaginary being Homo economicus, or just an econ for short. An econ is basically a superhuman. They think like Albert Einstein, remember things like a supercomputer, and have the willpower of Gandhi. An econ always makes the perfect choice for their long-term well-being. They never overeat, never forget to save for retirement, and certainly wouldn't be fooled by a simple optical illusion. Here's the problem. You've never met an econ. You never will. The people we actually know, our friends, family, that person staring back at us in the mirror. We're humans. We forget our spouse's birthday. We struggle with long division without a calculator. We demolish the entire bowl of cashews before dinner, even though we know it'll ruin our appetite. We are, beautifully and predictably, irrational. Understanding why is the first step to making better decisions. The authors explain that our brain runs two different operating systems simultaneously. Think of it as having two minds sharing space in your head. The first is the automatic system. This is your gut instinct. It's lightning fast, instinctive, and effortless. It makes you duck when something flies at your head. It's the part that smiles at a puppy or gets anxious when your plane hits turbulence. This is our ancient, primal brain, the part making split-second survival judgments for millions of years. It's basically Homer Simpson. He feels, he wants, he acts. 5-day waiting period, but I'm mad now. The second is the reflective system. This is conscious thought. It's slow, deliberate, and takes real effort. You use it to solve math problems, plan road trips, or weigh whether college is worth it. This is our logical, calculating brain. It's Mr. Spock from Star Trek, pure logic and reason. In a perfect world, our inner Spock would handle all the important decisions, but the reflective system is lazy. It tires easily. Most of the time, our inner Homer is driving, steering us through life based on feelings, habits, and mental shortcuts. This is where trouble begins. Because while our automatic system is brilliant at dodging predators on the savannah, it's terrible at navigating modern life's maze of credit cards, retirement plans, and all-you-can-eat buffets. It relies on simple rules of thumb, what psychologists call heuristics. These rules are usually fast and helpful, but they can also lead to massive, systematic mistakes. The authors highlight 3 big ones that constantly trip us up. The first is anchoring. Let me ask you something strange. Take the last 3 digits of your phone number and add 200. Got it? Now, when do you think Attila the Hun sacked Rome? Was it before or after that year? Your phone number has absolutely zero connection to ancient history. Yet when researchers run this experiment, they find something incredible. People with high phone numbers consistently guess dates hundreds of years later than people with low numbers. This is anchoring in action. Our minds hate uncertainty. When estimating something we don't know, we grab the first piece of information thrown at us, the anchor, and adjust from there. The problem? We barely adjust at all. This isn't just a party trick. It's everywhere. When charities ask for donations, they don't say, "Give what you can." They offer options: $50, $100, $250, or other. Those numbers aren't random. They're anchors, making a $100 donation feel reasonable. If the options were $25, $50, and $75, average donations would plummet. Real estate agents use this, showing you an overpriced house first, making the next one feel like a steal. Lawyers throw out astronomically high numbers in lawsuits, anchoring juries to a scale where millions suddenly seem plausible. Our automatic system gets anchored, and our reflective system is often too lazy to pull up that anchor and start fresh. The second mental shortcut is the availability heuristic. Quick question: what scares you more, a shark attack or a falling coconut? Shark attacks are terrifying. They're blockbuster movie material. They dominate news coverage. Falling coconuts? Not so much. Yet falling coconuts kill about 150 people yearly. Sharks kill around 5. We judge how likely something is, not by actual statistics, but by how easily we can recall an example. This is the availability heuristic. If something is vivid, recent, and emotional, our brain thinks it's common. Homicides are more available in our minds than suicides, so most people wrongly believe homicides happen more often. They don't. This explains why earthquake insurance sales skyrocket after an earthquake, then steadily decline as memories fade. It's why we worry more about terrorism than heart disease, even though heart disease is vastly more likely to kill us. Our brains react to vivid stories, not boring statistics. This simple bias governs our personal decisions and public policy. Governments pour resources into fighting front-page dangers, not necessarily the biggest actual threats. The third big rule of thumb is representativeness. Think of this as the stereotype heuristic. Meet Linda. She's 31, single, outspoken, and brilliant. She majored in philosophy. As a student, she was passionate about discrimination and social justice issues, and participated in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Now, which is more probable? A. Linda is a bank teller. B. Linda is a bank teller and active in the feminist movement. If you're like most people, you picked B. It just feels right. Linda's description perfectly matches our stereotype of a feminist, but B is logically impossible. Think about it. Feminist bank tellers is a subset of all bank tellers. Saying B is more likely is like saying you're more likely to find a golden retriever than a dog. A smaller group can't possibly be more probable than the larger group containing it. Our automatic system doesn't care about logic. It cares about what feels similar, what matches our mental picture. The great scientist Stephen Jay Gould admitted that even knowing the right answer, a little voice in his head still shouted, "But she can't just be a bank teller. Read the description." That little voice is the automatic system doing its thing. This bias makes us see patterns where none exist. We watch a basketball player sink 3 shots in a row and declare he has a hot hand. We feed him the ball. But decades of research show the hot hand is a myth. A player is no more likely to make the next shot after 3 successes than before. It's random fluctuation our minds desperately want to turn into meaningful pattern. The same thing happens with cancer clusters or stock market streaks. We're pattern-seeking machines, even when we're just staring at noise. These biases, anchoring, availability, and representativeness, are just the opening act. The authors walk us through a whole gallery of our mental quirks. There's unrealistic optimism. About 90% of drivers think they're above average. Nearly everyone believes they have an above-average sense of humor. When couples marry, almost all believe there's 0 chance they'll divorce, despite knowing the statistic hovers around 50%. This optimism can be wonderful. It fuels entrepreneurs to launch businesses, but it also leads us to underestimate risks, from heart attack chances to retirement savings needs. Then there's our bizarre relationship with gains and losses. People hate losing far more than they enjoy winning. Losing something makes you roughly twice as miserable as gaining the same thing makes you happy. This is loss aversion. In a classic experiment, half a classroom gets free coffee mugs, the other half gets nothing. Then, mug owners are asked the lowest price they'd accept to sell their mug. Non-owners are asked the highest price they'd pay for one. Logically, the prices should be similar. Same mug, right? But they never are. Mug owners typically demand about twice what non-owners will pay. Once it's ours, it magically becomes more valuable. We don't want to lose it. This powerful aversion to loss leads to another major flaw, the status quo bias. This is just a fancy name for inertia. For countless reasons, we have a powerful tendency to stick with our current situation. When you get a new phone, it comes with default ringtones, wallpaper, and dozens of other settings. How many have you changed? Most people stick with defaults, even when the stakes are much higher than ringtones. This, whatever approach, is one of the most powerful forces in human behavior. We go with the flow. We sit in the same classroom seat every day. We watch whatever show comes on after the one we were watching. We subscribe to magazines for a decade without reading them, just because we never cancel. And this is where the story shifts. Because if we're all so easily influenced, if our choices are shaped by anchors, inertia, and how things are presented, then there's no such thing as neutral design. This brings us to the most important character in the book, after the human, the choice architect. A choice architect is anyone who organizes the context in which people make decisions. Design a ballot? You're a choice architect. Doctor describing treatment options? Choice architect. Parent laying out educational paths? Choice architect. Running a school cafeteria? Definitely a choice architect. The authors tell the story of a fictional friend, Carolyn, who directs food services for a large city school system. She decides to run an experiment. Without changing menus, she simply rearranges how food is displayed. In some schools, desserts come first in line. In others, they're last. In some, French fries sit at eye level. In others, it's carrot sticks. The results are dramatic. Simply rearranging food increases or decreases consumption of many items by as much as 25%. Carolyn has learned something huge. Small, seemingly insignificant environmental details can massively impact behavior. She has power. She can nudge. Now she faces a choice. What should she do with this power? She could arrange food to maximize student health. She could arrange it randomly. She could try mimicking what kids would have chosen on their own, but what does that even mean when their choices depend on the arrangement? She could take supplier bribes to feature certain products, or she could arrange it to maximize profits. The first option, arranging food to improve student well-being, seems a bit intrusive, slightly paternalistic. But the alternatives are worse. Random is a cop-out. Being neutral is impossible, because any arrangement has an effect. Taking bribes is corrupt. Maximizing profits might harm kids' health. So Carolyn is stuck. She must choose some arrangement. She cannot avoid being a choice architect. Any design she chooses will nudge kids in some direction. This is the book's central argument. Since nudges are unavoidable, why not deliberately design them to improve people's lives? This is what the authors call libertarian paternalism. It sounds contradictory, and the authors know it. Both words have baggage. Libertarian conjures dogmatic anti-government types. Paternalism evokes a nanny state dictating your every move. But broken down, the idea is simple common sense. The libertarian part is crucial. It means preserving freedom of choice. A nudge isn't a mandate. Banning junk food isn't a nudge. Putting fruit at eye level is a nudge. People should always be free to choose. They should be able to opt out easily and cheaply. Want to eat the cake? Go ahead. We're not stopping you. The paternalism part simply claims it's legitimate for choice architects to influence behavior in ways that make lives longer, healthier, and better, as judged by people themselves. We're not imposing bureaucratic values. We're helping your inner, long-term planner, your inner Spock, win out over your impulsive, short-term doer, your inner Homer. We're helping you achieve goals you've set for yourself. So a nudge, as the authors define it, is any aspect of choice architecture that alters behavior in predictable ways without forbidding options or significantly changing economic incentives. It's the fly in the urinal. It's the road stripes on dangerous curves that get closer together, creating the illusion of speed and making you instinctively slow down. It's automatic magazine subscription renewal. The rest of the book tours how this simple, powerful idea applies to some of our biggest problems in health, wealth, and happiness. Let's start with wealth, specifically retirement savings. This is a perfect storm of difficulty for us humans. Benefits are far in the future. It requires solving complex math, and it demands immense self-control to resist spending money now. No surprise, many people fail at it. In the United States, personal savings rates have been tragically low. Even when companies offer fantastic retirement plans, like a 401k with matching contributions, literally free money, huge percentages of employees don't sign up. They get the forms, know they should do it, but inertia kicks in. Forms sit on kitchen counters gathering dust. The old system was opt-in. The default was non-enrollment. You had to take action to join. So a libertarian paternalist asks, what if we just flip the default? This is what many companies have started doing with automatic enrollment. When you're hired, you're automatically enrolled in the retirement plan unless you actively opt out. The results have been astonishing. In one company, participation rates for new employees jumped from around 20% to 90%, practically overnight. Just by changing the default, by harnessing inertia for good, millions of people will have more comfortable retirements. It's a simple, powerful nudge. But there's a problem. With automatic enrollment, people are enrolled at a default savings rate, usually quite low, maybe 3% of income. And because of status quo bias, most people stick with that low rate forever. They're saving, but not enough. This is where Richard Thaler, with his colleague Shlomo Benartzi, came up with an even more brilliant nudge: Save More Tomorrow. This program shows deep understanding of human psychology. First, it acknowledges people want to save more but have self-control problems. Second, it uses the fact that it's always easier to commit to future good behavior than to start today. I'll start my diet Monday. Third, it cleverly sidesteps loss aversion. People hate seeing their paycheck shrink. Here's how it works. You ask employees if they'd like to join a program where they commit, in advance, to automatically increasing their savings rate every time they get a raise. Think about the genius here. Your take-home pay never goes down. When you get a 3% raise, maybe 1% automatically goes to retirement savings. You still see your paycheck increase, just slightly less. You don't feel the loss of extra savings. And once you're in, inertia becomes your best friend. The increases happen automatically. You do nothing. The first test was spectacularly successful. A group of employees who just refused to increase savings immediately were offered Save More Tomorrow. Nearly 80% signed up. Over the next few years, their savings rates nearly quadrupled, from 3.5% to 13.6%. They went from poor savers to excellent savers, barely feeling a thing. This idea was so successful, it was written into U.S. law in 2006, creating incentives for companies to adopt both automatic enrollment and automatic escalation. It's a perfect example of a gentle nudge helping millions of people have better lives without forcing anyone to do anything. Now let's turn to health. Same principles apply. One of the most powerful and tragic examples is organ donation. In the United States, thousands die yearly waiting for transplants. Demand far outstrips supply. Yet surveys show the vast majority approve of organ donation and say they'd be willing donors. The problem, again, is the gap between intention and action. Most states use explicit consent, an opt-in model. You must take a concrete step, like checking a box on your driver's license, to become a donor. And many of us, for no good reason, just don't get around to it. But some countries use a different system, presumed consent, an opt-out model. Everyone is presumed an organ donor unless they actively opt out. The difference is staggering. Look at two similar countries, Germany and Austria. Germany uses opt-in. Only 12% of citizens are registered donors. Austria, right next door, uses opt-out. Their donation rate? Nearly 100%, 99%. This isn't because Austrians are more generous than Germans. It's the power of the default. When the default is set to the socially beneficial outcome, inertia and status quo bias do the rest. Switching the default rule would cost taxpayers nothing, force nobody to do anything they don't want, and save thousands of lives every single year. It's a nudge that could mean the difference between life and death. Of course, not all nudges are well designed. The authors point to the Medicare Prescription Drug Plan Part D as a case study in terrible choice architecture. The plan was created with the libertarian idea of maximizing choice. In some states, senior citizens faced choosing from over 50 different, highly complex prescription drug plans. The result? Chaos and confusion. Faced with bewildering options, many failed to enroll or made poor choices. The situation got so bad that for millions of low-income seniors who didn't choose, the government's solution was random enrollment. This is the exact opposite of an intelligent nudge. It's like Carolyn, the cafeteria manager, deciding to throw food on the floor and let kids figure it out. The lesson is clear: just maximizing choices isn't enough. Especially when choices are complex and stakes are high, good choice architects need to provide structure, guidance, and sensible defaults. More choice isn't always better. Better choice architecture is better. The authors propose a simple fix called RECAP: record, evaluate, and compare alternative prices. The idea is that providers of complex services, like cell phone plans, credit cards, mortgages, and prescription drug plans, should provide customers with clear, machine-readable summaries of their usage and all fees paid. This would allow third-party websites to easily compare plans and tell you, based on your own history, which plan would have been cheapest. It's a nudge, using transparency and technology to empower consumers and foster real competition. The power of a nudge extends beyond personal decisions into our collective behavior, especially when it comes to saving the planet. Environmental problems often create a tragedy of the commons, where everyone acting in self-interest leads to collective disaster. We don't see the immediate cost of leaving lights on or driving gas guzzlers. The feedback is poor, and incentives are misaligned. The authors argue the best solutions are based on incentives, like a carbon tax or cap-and-trade system making polluters pay. These are more like shoves than nudges, but they're liberty-preserving shoves. They make pollution costs visible and let people and companies decide how to respond. But even without big policy changes, smaller nudges can make huge differences. Remember social influence? We're heavily influenced by what others do. In Texas, officials struggled with massive littering problems. Civic duty campaigns weren't working. So they tried something new, hiring famous, tough-guy Dallas Cowboys players to star in commercials, growling the new slogan, "Don't mess with Texas." The campaign was massively successful. It didn't just tell people not to litter, it created a new social norm. It framed littering as not just wrong, but weak and un-Texan. Litter was reduced by over 70% in its first few years. This was a social nudge. In California, a study on energy conservation gave households information not just about their own energy use, but how it compared to neighbors. The result? Above-average users significantly cut back. But there was a boomerang effect. Below-average users actually increased usage, as if they felt they had room to spare. So researchers added another nudge. For big energy users, they put a sad emoticon on bills. For energy savers, a happy emoticon. The result? The sad face made big users cut back even more. And the happy face completely eliminated the boomerang effect. That little bit of social approval was enough to keep good savers on track. It's a simple, low-cost intervention harnessing social comparison and feedback. Imagine if your thermostat didn't just show temperature, but glowed red when you were using expensive energy, and green when you were being efficient. Suddenly, the invisible becomes visible, and when we can see our choices, we can start changing them. Throughout this journey, the authors build a powerful case that we can do better. We can design systems in our governments, companies, and our own lives that make it easier for our better selves to emerge. The principles of good choice architecture can be summarized with a helpful acronym: nudges, incentives, who pays, who chooses, who profits. Make sure incentives are aligned. If you want people to do something, make it worth their while, but also make sure incentives are visible, that people can see them. Understand mappings. How do we map choices to our welfare? Medicare Part D fails this test because it's nearly impossible for seniors to map plan choices to actual out-of-pocket costs and health outcomes. Good choice architects make choice consequences clear. Instead of telling you a camera has 12 megapixels, tell you it can produce high-quality poster-sized prints. Translate choices into experiences. Defaults. This is the big one. The power of inertia is immense. Defaults should be chosen carefully to reflect choices that would make most people better off. Automatic enrollment, presumed consent for organ donation. These are powerful, life-changing defaults. Give feedback. The best way to improve is getting clear, immediate feedback. Digital cameras beat film cameras because you see mistakes right away. The glowing orb showing energy use provides instant feedback. Well-designed systems tell you when you're doing well and when you're making errors. Expect error. Humans make mistakes. Well-designed systems anticipate errors and forgive them as much as possible. A gas cap attached to the car prevents driving off without it. An email program asking, "Did you mean to send this without an attachment?" expects error. We should design for humans, not econs. Structure complex choices. When choices are numerous and complex, we need help. People use simplifying strategies, and choice architects can assist. A paint store organizes colors by hue, not alphabetically. A movie rental site uses collaborative filtering. People who liked this also liked, to help you navigate endless options. When the world is complex, a little structure goes a long way. This framework isn't a magic wand. It doesn't solve all problems. But it offers a new way of thinking. It's a third way between rigid, one-size-fits-all government mandates and dogmatic, sink-or-swim, pure laissez-faire. It recognizes that we are human. It respects our freedom, and it gently, wisely nudges us toward a better world. As we close the pages of Nudge, it's hard not to look at the world a little differently. Suddenly, you start seeing the hidden architecture everywhere. The grocery store layout, website design, the way your doctor presents options. It's all choice architecture. And you realize you're being nudged constantly, whether you know it or not. The most profound lesson from this book isn't just about policy or economics. It's a deeply compassionate and humble observation about the human condition. It reminds us that being smart doesn't make us immune to foolish mistakes. Our best intentions are often derailed by the simplest obstacles: a poorly designed form, a moment of temptation, or just the powerful pull of doing nothing at all. What Thaler and Sunstein offer isn't a grand, sweeping ideology, but a practical, humane philosophy. They don't pretend to have all the answers. Instead, they give us a new lens for seeing problems and a new toolkit for solving them. It's a toolkit based on empathy, on understanding our own predictable quirks and designing systems that account for them. This idea of libertarian paternalism is, I believe, one of the most important political and social ideas of the 21st century. It offers a path out of tired, polarized debates that so often trap us. It shows we can be both pro-choice and pro-well-being. We can help people without taking away their freedom. We can be smarter about how we structure society without becoming a nanny state. So how can you start using this today? You don't have to be a president or CEO to be a choice architect. First, you can be the choice architect of your own life. Recognize your inner Homer and inner Spock. Know that your willpower is a limited resource. Instead of relying on it, change your environment. If you want to eat healthier, don't just try resisting junk food in your pantry. Get it out of your house. Make healthy snacks the easy default option. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. Reduce the friction. Make good choices the path of least resistance. Second, you can be a choice architect for people you care about. If you want your kids to do homework, don't just nag. Help them design an environment with fewer distractions. If you're a manager wanting your team to save for retirement, don't just send a memo. Make the enrollment process as simple as possible. Make it automatic. Finally, you can demand better choice architecture from institutions that serve you. Ask why forms are so complicated. Ask why defaults aren't set to help you. The power of a nudge is that it's often simple, low cost, and easy to implement. We just have to start seeing the opportunities. That was a summary of Nudge by Richard H. Thaler and Cass R. Sunstein. We've explored the main ideas today, but I'll be honest. A summary is like looking at a travel brochure. It can show you pictures, but it can't give you the feeling of actually being there. The real magic of this book is in the delightful stories, clever experiments, and sheer humanity shining through on every page. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time. If anything we've talked about today has sparked your curiosity, if you found yourself thinking, "That's so true, I'd do that," then I urge you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just learning. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see the world and your own place within it. Also, if you found this summary valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe. It tells us we're on the right track and ensures you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and keep growing together.